Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. There was gravy on my shirt and a broken silence in the room. That's how it started. Not with cheating, not with lies, with gravy. I had reached across the table, not to be romantic, not to make a move, just to pass the salt, and my wife jerked her arm away so fast, my hand hit the gravy boat. It tipped, splashed, and the whole table gasped like we were in a soap opera. Then, without missing a beat, she said it. Loudly, clearly. Not even to me, to the whole damn family. I don't want his hands on me. Like I was diseased. Like I was a stranger who got too close at the grocery store. I wasn't even angry, not yet. I just stared at her, dumbfounded, like some guy who wandered into the wrong house and couldn't figure out why everyone was glaring at him. Then came the worst part. Her sister, Mallory, same long auburn hair, same cruel smirk, younger by 2 years and always a little too flirtatious, leaned in, looked right at me, and said, "Well, I want them." Laughter. Except it wasn't funny. Because it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a door creaking open. Let me tell you something. I'm not a bold man. I fix vending machines for a living. I bring home leftovers in a lunchbox that still has a sticker on it from when I bought it in 2013. I say, "Excuse me," even when no one hears me burp. I'm not the guy women fight over. I'm the guy they forget stood in the room at all. My name's Edgar. And up until that dinner, I thought my biggest problem was my cholesterol. Turns out, it was my marriage. Bailey, my wife, hadn't touched me in months. I thought it was stress. Her new job, her weird work hours, the late-night Zoom calls in the locked office. She always had excuses. I didn't press. I'm not the confrontational type. I'm the maybe she just needs space type. The I'll try harder next week type. But at that table, something inside me cracked. Not anger, just quiet, shivering realization. After dinner, Bailey acted like nothing happened. She even offered me pie. Pie. Like she didn't just humiliate me in front of her parents, her cousins, and her suddenly not-so-subtle sister. I declined. I didn't trust my voice. And Mallory? She winked at me. Honest to God. A slow, mocking wink while sipping wine like she'd just set fire to something and wanted to see how fast it burned. I sat in the car afterward, engine running, headlights on the garage door. Bailey was inside already. I just sat there gripping the wheel, thinking of that moment, that sentence, and Mallory's voice echoing in my skull. I want them. I knew then, as clear as I know my own name, that something had shifted. Not just in them, in me. I had lived so quietly for so long, I forgot how loud betrayal sounds. And what came next? That was just the first match. The silence between us and the house that night was thick enough to slice through. I didn't say a word when I came in. I kicked off my shoes quietly, like I was the guest in my own home. Bailey was already curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, scrolling on her phone like the entire family dinner hadn't just imploded. The woman I married, the one who used to sit on the kitchen floor with me and talk about silly things for hours, didn't even glance up. I stood there for a few seconds, waiting, hoping she'd acknowledge what happened. That maybe she'd say, "Hey, that came out wrong," or "Sorry about that thing at dinner." But no, she just kept tapping her screen, eyes glued to it like I didn't exist. When I finally asked, "Why do you say that tonight?" she didn't even flinch. Her reply? "Say what?" "You know what?" I said. "The thing about not wanting my hands on you. In front of your whole family." Bailey rolled her eyes like a teenager being scolded. "Oh my God, Edgar, you're still on that?" I was joking. It's called humor. Try it sometime. I stood there, blinking. A joke? That was a joke to her. And your sister? Was she joking too? That finally got her attention. Her head snapped up. "What's that supposed to mean? You didn't hear what she said?" She narrowed her eyes. "I heard it. And it was gross. But you're eating it up, aren't you?" That hit me like a slap. I wasn't even sure what I felt. Shame, confusion, some kind of twisted guilt. But there was something else under it all. A thought I didn't want to admit out loud. I wasn't the one who crossed the line. You were. That night, I slept on the couch again. But this time, not because we argued. I just didn't want to be near her. I stared at the ceiling until 3 a.m. My mind spinning with every little red flag I'd ignored in the past year. The fake smiles, the girls' weekends that always ended with her too tired to talk, the way she flinched when I walked into a room too quickly. And then my phone buzzed. It was Mallory. Still thinking about dinner? I can't sleep either. I didn't answer, but I didn't block her either. The next day, something shifted in Bailey. She got up early, full makeup, full energy, practically glowing. She hummed while making coffee. She never hummed. "You're in a good mood," I muttered. She shrugged. "Just trying to start fresh." But later, I found something in the laundry. A receipt. One she must have forgotten in her blazer pocket. 2 martinis. 1 bourbon. 1 hotel room. A Tuesday night. Not a Friday. Not a girl's night. Not stress. Just betrayal, wrapped neatly in a folded piece of paper. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I couldn't. I needed more. Proof? No, permission. Permission to believe what I already knew in my gut. So instead, I messaged Mallory back. "I need to ask you something. And I want the truth. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't come from the person you married. Sometimes, it comes from the one who watched the whole thing fall apart," and smiled. I didn't expect Mallory to reply so quickly. I had barely pressed send when the typing dots appeared. For a moment, I regretted reaching out. Maybe I was being petty. Maybe I was just desperate for someone to acknowledge what I was feeling, the quiet kind of hurt that doesn't scream, just slowly rots you from the inside out. But by the time I could talk myself out of it, her message came through. "What do you want to know, Edgar? Just ask." There were a dozen ways I could have worded it. Polite, cautious, indirect. But I didn't have the energy for that anymore. So I wrote, "Is Bailey cheating on me?" I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the send button for what felt like forever. Then I hit it. No takebacks. The reply didn't come right away. It took almost an hour. And in that hour, I sat alone in our dark living room while Bailey slept upstairs, probably dreaming of God knows what, or who. I tried to tell myself that maybe Mallory didn't know anything. Maybe she was just teasing, just stirring the pot. But when her message finally came through, my stomach dropped. Yes, she's been seeing someone for months. No hesitation. No sugarcoating. Just a gut punch in 2 short sentences. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I read it again, and again, and again. Then she sent another message. "I didn't tell you earlier because I thought it wasn't my place. But after what she said at dinner, she doesn't deserve your silence anymore." My silence. Like I'd been protecting Bailey all this time without even realizing it. Like I'd been part of the lie just by trying to hold it all together. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I wanted to run upstairs and scream at her until she crumbled. But instead, I sat there, frozen, defeated, and worse, not surprised. Mallory kept typing. "He's someone from work. Older. Rich. Married. She thinks no one knows. But she's not subtle, Edgar. Everyone suspects." I just confirmed it. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had spent the last year blaming myself. I thought maybe I wasn't exciting enough. Not confident enough. Not man enough. But all this time, she had already left me. Emotionally, physically, while I stayed loyal to an illusion. I didn't ask Mallory why she was telling me this now. I didn't ask why she cared. Because deep down, I already knew. It wasn't kindness. It wasn't guilt. It was something more dangerous. She wanted to see what I'd do with the truth. She wanted to see if I'd finally wake up and burn it all down. And I almost did. I walked up to our bedroom that night. Quiet. Careful. She was curled on her side, her face soft in sleep like none of this had ever happened. I stood over her for a long time, just staring, wondering how someone could fake so much love, so much normalcy, while building a life behind your back. I didn't wake her. I didn't even cry. I just whispered, "I know," and walked back downstairs. That night, I didn't sleep at all, but I started making plans. And the first thing I did? I responded to Mallory. "Tell me everything." Because if Bailey thought I was going to keep playing the fool, she had no idea what I'd do next. Mallory didn't waste time. Her messages poured in one after another like she'd been holding it in for months, just waiting for someone to ask. And every word tightened the knot in my chest. She told me Bailey started the affair sometime last spring, just after she got that promotion at work. It began with innocent drinks after meetings, late nights at the office, business trips that didn't match the company calendar. Mallory had pieced it together slowly. The way Bailey stopped wearing her wedding ring, the way she changed her perfume, started locking her phone like it held nuclear codes. But there was something worse than the cheating. Something I hadn't expected. Bailey wasn't just seeing this man. She was using me to cover her tracks. Every time she told me to pick up groceries, to take her car in for maintenance, to stay late fixing the router, those weren't errands. They were buffers. She was clearing space to meet him. And I, like the idiot I was, followed every instruction, trying to be a helpful husband while she used me as a pawn in her disgusting little game. Mallory sent screenshots next, not of texts between her and Bailey. No, she wasn't that reckless. But she'd been watching. She had taken photos. One of Bailey outside a hotel downtown. Another of her walking into a bar with a man in a suit whose hand was far too familiar on her lower back. And the most damning one, Bailey at a rooftop lounge, her face inches from his, her hand clutching his tie like it belonged to her. I couldn't look away. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. Not because I needed more proof, I already believed it, but because I needed the pain. I needed something to match the hollowness I'd been carrying around for months. When I finally put the phone down, Mallory messaged one last time. She's never going to stop unless someone stops her. She thinks she's untouchable. That word, untouchable, stuck with me. Because that's exactly how Bailey behaved. As if she could humiliate me in public, lie to my face, betray our vows, and still come home to fresh laundry and dinners I made while she scrolled through her phone pretending to be tired. I didn't respond to Mallory right away. I needed air. I walked outside, past the overgrown hedges I hadn't trimmed in weeks, past the broken porch light she'd nagged me about and I never fixed. The night was quiet, but my head was screaming. I started thinking about all the moments she made me feel small. Like when I spilled wine at her office party and she rolled her eyes like I was a child. Or when I surprised her with tickets to a show and she said, "God, Edgar, can you please plan something that doesn't involve sad theater?" I brushed those moments off before, told myself she was just tired or stressed. But now I saw it clearly. She didn't love me. Maybe she never did. She tolerated me, used me, and worst of all, she laughed behind my back. But the part that really shattered me? Mallory confessed something else. Something she said she never intended to tell me. She brags about it, Edgar. Not just to friends. At work. She calls you the loyal puppy. That did it. Not the hotel. Not the other man. Not the lies. That phrase, those 3 cruel words, killed whatever piece of me had still believed this marriage could be salvaged. I went back inside, straight to my office, and opened a document titled Divorce. Not a note, not a plan, the real thing. I didn't know where it would go yet, but I knew one thing. The man she thought would stay silent? He was gone, and the one who replaced him was ready to make sure she never forgot what she did. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't cry. I just planned. While Bailey went about her days laughing at her phone, leaving lipstick-stained coffee mugs around the house, and humming songs she probably associated with the man whose tie she gripped like a lifeline, I was quietly preparing for the day everything would shatter, on my terms. Confrontation wouldn't give me closure. She'd spin it, lie, cry maybe, and somehow make me the villain. I'd be paranoid, controlling, too emotional. No, I needed to be smarter than that. I needed her to see exactly what she destroyed and have nowhere to hide from it. So I kept playing the part, the loyal puppy. I smiled when she came home late. I nodded when she said she was going to Heather's for a girls' night. I even washed her car before her business trip, knowing full well she wasn't traveling alone. And while she slipped deeper into her fantasy, I was building the exit ramp for both of us, just not the one she was expecting. Mallory kept feeding me breadcrumbs. She knew more than she let on. Names, places, dates. And I started documenting everything. I opened a private drive, collected timestamps, photos, receipts I dug out of coat pockets. I even placed a voice-activated recorder in her car. The first night it captured nothing but pop songs and her complaining about traffic. The second night, it caught her giggling and whispering into her phone. "You know he still irons my blouses? Like I'm the president or something. Poor man." That one almost broke me. But instead of spiraling, I leaned in. I bought a burner phone. I contacted a lawyer under a fake name just to get familiar with the process. I requested bank statements and started moving small amounts of money into a separate account under my name only. She never noticed. She was too busy making plans with someone else. Then came the opportunity one hadn't expected, her parents' anniversary dinner. A full family gathering, just like the one where it all started. The same long table, the same laughter, the same cheap wine. And this time, I brought something with me. I loaded one of Mallory's photos onto a flash drive and borrowed a friend's mini projector. I hid it in my jacket. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to let her actions do the talking. We sat around the table like before. She wore red, her favorite color when she wanted attention. Her father toasted their 50 years of marriage. Bailey clapped and smiled like she understood the meaning of loyalty. Then came my moment. As the plates were being cleared, I stood up and said, "Since we're celebrating truth and lasting love, I wanted to share something I've been working on too." I pulled out the projector and pointed it at the wall. People laughed nervously. They thought it was a slideshow or a surprise tribute, until they saw the first image. Bailey, her lover, her hand where it didn't belong. Silence dropped like a bomb. She froze. Her fork dropped. Her mother gasped. And Mallory, seated 2 chairs away, just sipped her wine. Bailey turned to me, color draining from her face. "What the hell is this?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make a scene. I simply said, "It's what you've been hiding. And what I won't be." Then I walked out. Just like that. No final words. No dramatic exit. I left her surrounded by the very people she fooled, or thought she had. And the best part? The real fallout was just beginning. 2 days after the dinner, Bailey texted me like nothing had happened. "Can we talk?" she wrote, as if the slideshow of her infidelity projected across her parents' dining room was just a minor hiccup. I didn't answer. I was staying at a cheap extended stay hotel on the edge of town, surrounded by peeling wallpaper and buzzing vending machines. But for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. But that peace didn't last. Mallory showed up at my door. I opened it expecting a housekeeper or maybe the guy from the front desk telling me I needed to move my car. Instead, there she was, standing in ripped jeans and a hoodie, holding a paper bag with 2 coffees and that same half-smile that always made me uncomfortable. "You looked like you needed backup," she said, stepping inside before I could say a word. I didn't ask how she knew where I was. Honestly, I didn't care. We sat on the bed, the silence thick between us. I expected her to gloat or twist the knife, but she didn't. She just sat there, quiet, sipping coffee and watching me like I was a dying animal she was trying to decide whether to save or put down. "You did the right thing," she said eventually. "Most guys would have stayed. Pretended it didn't happen. Most guys don't have a sister-in-law who documents the whole thing," I muttered. She smiled, but there was something sharp behind it. "I didn't do it for you. Not at first." That caught my attention. I turned to her, waiting. "I did it because I was sick of watching her walk over everyone," she continued. "Including me." I didn't know what to say to that. I still don't. But what she told me next shattered everything I thought I knew about the situation. Bailey's affair wasn't just with some older married man from her office. That part was true, but it wasn't just physical. It was strategic. She had been trying to line up a new life, a new job, a new apartment. She even had the audacity to list me as a character reference on her lease application, the same lease she submitted 2 weeks before I found out. "She said you were too weak to leave," Mallory told me. "Said you'd probably cry and beg, maybe crash on her couch for a week until you got over it." My throat tightened. That's how she saw me. A stray dog too broken to run. She used to say it like a joke, Mallory added. But she meant it. I stared at the wall for a long time after that, listening to the ice machine buzz through the drywall. Mallory eventually left, but not before handing me a folder. "In case you want to hit her where it really hurts," she said. Inside were emails, financial records, screenshots, all of it neatly organized, like she had been preparing for this moment long before I ever knew I'd need it. Later that night, I got an email. From Bailey. "I don't know why you're being dramatic. Let's at least act like adults and divide things fairly." Fairly? She meant her half of the savings, which she hadn't contributed to in 2 years. She meant the car I bought, the house I inherited from my uncle, which she had pushed to refinance and remodel under both our names. It was never about love. It was about leverage. But now I had mine. I didn't reply to the email. I sent it straight to my lawyer, along with the folder Mallory gave me. Then I blocked Bailey's number. Completely. No contact. No closure. Nothing. And as I lay in that lumpy hotel bed staring at the ceiling tiles, something strange happened. I smiled. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the fool in her story. I was the ending. It took Bailey 3 days to lose her mind completely. 3 days of me not answering her calls, not responding to her texts, not reacting to her crocodile tears or her thinly veiled threats. At first, she tried to play the victim, sending long messages about how humiliated she felt at the dinner, how cruel it was for me to involve her family, how I violated her privacy by showing those images. The word privacy almost made me laugh. She didn't care about that when she was parading around with another man in plain sight. What she really meant was control. She had lost it, and now she was spiraling. By day 4, her messages changed tone. She started gaslighting me like it was her last chance to win a prize. I didn't cheat, she said. It wasn't what it looked like. Then, just hours later, even if I did, it's because you pushed me away. That was Bailey in a nutshell. Contradicting herself within the same breath and still expecting to be believed. But I stayed silent. And that silence was what made her dangerous. Because when a narcissist doesn't get an audience, they look for a new stage. Bailey didn't come to the hotel. No, she did something worse. She went to my workplace. I found out from Greg, my supervisor, who called me after lunch sounding more confused than concerned. "Hey Edgar, everything okay at home?" he asked gently. Apparently, Bailey had shown up unannounced that morning, dressed like she was heading to a funeral, black coat, no makeup, looking like a woman scorned. She asked to speak to HR, told them she was my wife, said she had concerns. Greg didn't get the full story, but from what he could piece together, she claimed I was mentally unstable and might not be fit to continue working. That's when I felt the chill. She wasn't just trying to win me back or guilt me into reconciliation. She was trying to ruin me. I rushed to the office that evening, explained everything to HR, backed it up with screenshots, emails, and even the first few pages of the divorce paperwork my lawyer had just finalized. They were understanding, skeptical of her tactics, but still wary of how messy things could get if it escalated. And I knew then, this wasn't going to end with a signature on a document. Bailey was going to drag this out until she was bleeding, or until I was. But here's the part she didn't expect. Mallory had been watching everything unfold. And for the first time, she offered something I didn't expect. Help. Real help. "I've got a recording," she told me over the phone. "Something she said about you. I wasn't going to use it, but I think you need it now." That night, she sent me the audio. It was Bailey, laughing with a friend over drinks. Drunk. Loud. Bragging. I could say he hit me, and everyone would believe me. He's so meek it's pathetic. He wouldn't even know how to defend himself. Hearing it made my skin crawl. She'd thought about it. Planned it. And she said it so casually, like it was just another tool in her box of manipulation. But now I had that tool. I sent the recording to my lawyer first, then to HR. And just like that, the power she thought she had evaporated. She showed up at the hotel 2 nights later, banging on the door, screaming about betrayal, threatening to call the cops. I didn't answer. I didn't even look through the peephole. I just called the front desk and let security handle it. Bailey didn't get arrested, but she did get banned from the premises. And I finally understood, this wasn't about love. It never had been. It was about who she could control, and who finally said no. The final meeting was quiet. No lawyers. No more screaming at hotel doors. Just paperwork, a sterile office, and Bailey, looking far smaller than I remembered. Her makeup was perfect, her blouse ironed, but none of that could cover the look in her eyes. She had lost. Not just me. Not just control, but the image of herself she had carefully crafted for years. And now, she was just another person at a cheap plastic table, signing the end of something she once believed she owned. She didn't say much. Neither did I. The silence between us was louder than any fight we'd ever had. The only time she looked up was when I handed over the final document, a list of everything I was keeping. The car, the house, the savings, all backed by legal filings, evidence, and the truth she could no longer rewrite. She flipped through the pages with shaking fingers, trying to hide it. But I saw it. I saw her realize that the man she thought would break had been the one quietly building the escape. "I didn't think you had this in you," she whispered, not quite meeting my eyes. "That's the problem," I said. "You never did." And just like that, it was over. I walked out of that building with nothing in my hands, but everything I had finally earned. Dignity, freedom, self-respect. I didn't go back to the hotel. I didn't even text Mallory, though I knew she'd want to know how it went. Instead, I drove. No destination, no plan, just the open road and the first clean breath I'd taken in years. A week later, I got a postcard from Mallory. No return address, just a photo of the ocean and 5 words. "You didn't deserve any of it." She was right. It took being torn down piece by piece to understand that I had worth. That kindness isn't weakness. That silence can be strength. And sometimes, the best revenge is building a life so peaceful, so untouchable that your enemies can't reach you, not even with lies. So yeah, this story started with betrayal, with a sister's smirk and a wife's cruelty. But it ended with clarity. And honestly, that's the most peaceful ending I could have hoped for. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you've ever witnessed a moment in history, personal or global, that changed someone's life forever, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories from behind the silence.